obviously the standout fixture is this Sunday in Semple Stadium, Newcastle West versus Clonmel Commercials in the Munster semi-final. And when you see those two names paired together, Matt, you kind of automatically go back to 2015 and a huge missed opportunity for Newcastle West. I know they had, I think it was a 23 years gap from their previous Limerick title, but they had the game won and conceded 6 points in a row in the last 5 minutes. And we were talking to Ian and Jimmy the other night, and you could hear from Ian that they are thinking about that game and are really hoping to avenge that result.
Absolutely, and I think Ian nailed it. Actually, it's a result that will rankle with all, not just Newcastle West supporters, but with Limerick supporters, because Newcastle West went to Clonmel that day as rank outsiders, total underdogs, and they did everything, Jack, but win the football match. That is the pity about it. And what transpired after, had in that they went on and beat Nemo Rangers in the final in Mallow, and we saw something similar replicated in 2020 when Limerick were so unlucky to lose the Munster semi-final in the Gaelic grounds to Tipperary, that huge point from Conor Sweeney that forced it to extra time, and then Tipperary went on and won the Munster final. That particular day in 2015, as I said, is Newcastle West did everything but win the game. They seemed to be in control of it, but lost their way at a crucial stage, and Clonmel Commercials saw it out. Now we've a similar situation in terms of form going into this semi-final, in that Newcastle West again will be outsiders, and I'm sure from you were there, Jack, and we talking to the lads the other night. That's something that they won't mind. They probably will be quite happy with it, because going into the game, all the pedigree is with Commercials, Clonmel Commercials. Like, they travelled to Cork in the quarter-final, rank outsiders, and an 8-point win on Lee side over Nemo Rangers, who are the specialist team in the competition in Munster and All-Ireland levels. And, that gives them the right to be firm favourites. But I have this sense of about Newcastle West, Jack, that I honestly think that Newcastle West had the perfect preparation for the challenge that they're facing on Sunday, with the semi-final and the final, the Limerick final. Like the game that they got against Mona Lean, and I did say to some of the Newcastle West connections afterwards, when they were getting a palpable sense of relief that they'd got over the line. But it was the ideal test for going forward and going into a final. And it was similar in the final. They got a real test. Like coming down the home straight, coming down in injury time, in the final in normal time, Newcastle West, Jack, were on the ropes until Dan Doherty came up there and got that crucial equaliser, forced the game to extra time now. They seem to find a new gear in extra time, Newcastle West.
Yeah.
But I would be quite confident that that Newcastle West are not just going to Thurles on Sunday to make up the numbers or be anything a sideshow or a big part in this game, because I think they're quite capable of giving a very good account for themselves, and quite capable, Jack, of being very there or thereabouts at the end, because we see Newcastle West in patches, and it's when I say in patches, if they were to maintain it over an hour, it would take a very, very good team to beat them. And I'm talking about when they decide to drive forward their teams. They tend to have a propensity for times during games to go lateral.
Yeah,
definitely. Which at times can be annoying for the simple reason that they are a very formidable and they are a very exciting attacking force. And of course, Jimmy Lee was at pains there to tell us on Monday night, Jack, about the importance of the middle third, and it is hugely important. And of course, I suppose when it comes to players that can play the middle third game and can link out of defence up and into the attack, they certainly have experts in that. In their 2 All-Star nominees, Ian Corbett and Cian Sheehan.
Yeah,
and it is obviously something that Newcastle West have worked on. So I'm very hopeful, Jack, going to Thurles on Sunday, that Newcastle West, it's going to be difficult for them. Call a spade a spade. It's going to be difficult for them, but they're capable of upsetting the odds, Jack. And we've also seen another great characteristic that they have developed over the last 2 years, in particular, is their ability to see out close games and their ability to win close games. And we saw that the different spectrums of that in the last 2 rounds of the Limerick Championship, when they closed out Monaleen from being just ahead, and when they rescued the game against the Dare.
yeah,
That is one of the great characteristics. And of course, another thing that we didn't realize until they appeared in the county final, in that during the group stages and the semi-final, they hadn't conceded a goal. Like in the entire championship, in the entire 7 games that they played in Limerick, the first goal came a minute before halftime from a penalty against them. So,
yeah.
like they have a very, very tight, organised, and disciplined defence. But they'll want it on Sunday. They'll want it on Sunday because this is a very, very formidable Clonmel commercial side. There's no use in saying otherwise. 6 of these lads, I think, Jack, were involved when Tipperary beat Cork in the Munster final in 2020. And Michael Quinlan is an all-star, and you've fellas like Kevin Fahey, Jason Lonergan, Jack Kennedy, Coleman Kennedy, Patrick Lurham, extremely, extremely good players. Now, they beat them an inch in the Tipperary final. Lopsided Tipperary final, didn't get a real test, I would imagine, judging by the scoreline of 110 to 1-2. Which would suggest maybe not the most exciting of games, but they did it, and then went on and as we've already said, beat Nemo Rangers. But I'm quite hopeful for Newcastle West, and like we've seen the new players coming through in Newcastle West this year, and Rowan O'Connor, Todd Donovan, Emmett Richter. We've seen the emergence of Brian Nix. And we all know about Dermot Kelly,
Yeah.
and we're at the lower end of the age spectrum now when we're talking about these players. Like, to me, Emmett Richter has been a revelation at midfield.
Yeah, he's a fine footballer.
Particularly outstanding in the semi-final, had a very, very good final. And, like you throw those in with the experience that they have, and the likes of the Cian Sheehans and the Ian Corbetts of this world. And what about Big Mac on the edge of the square? We'll say probably, what about him? The goal king,
Probably a player of the championship, Mike Mack.
If Newcastle West can use Big Mac on Sunday, he's going to cause a lot of problems for commercials.
Yeah, definitely. I suppose you mentioned that game, Parky Queeve. They really show what they're all about, Clonmel, but probably, we're at their peak that day. Anything less, and there's a big opportunity for Newcastle. They have the monkey off the back with regards that win over the Dyer last year. That was their first win in Munster in 40 years, I think, so monkey off the back. Clonmel are favourites, and rightly so, but, you wouldn't rule out Newcastle because they do match up well in terms of that middle third you mentioned, and good powerful runners. So it'll be an interesting game, definitely, this Sunday in Thurles.
But Jack, the Newcastle West back is a very strong one because they had a couple of monkeys on it. They had the monkey of not winning in Munster, and they also had the monkey of not completing back-to-back titles in Limerick. So all the monkeys are gone, Jack.
Yeah, no, it's a formidable Newcastle West side.